Well, you know, iron.
I think God and Moses both just have enormous respect for each other.
What gladiator has that same right spirit as that
Look, the judges are gone. Even the Egyptian judge is impressed.
Until recently, you claimed that the earth revolved around the sun.
Welcome to History Bites. I'm Rick Green. They say the only certainties in life are death and taxes. Well, that was certainly true for William the Conqueror. He dished out a whole lot of death when he invaded England in 1066. After putting down various rebellions, he decided to cover the cost of all that conquering with taxes. But to tax people, you have to figure out what they can pay. Since nobody filled out tax returns in medieval times, William sent his accountants, escorted by armed guards, to take stock of the whole kingdom. The final tally, a gross national product, was compiled into the Domesday Book. Naturally, folks weren't pleased about property assessment or paying more taxes. So let's go back to the year 1086 and see how Britain would have looked if the Domesday Book had been doomsday television.
On the road to Doomsday, doing a national survey. Coming to count all your stuff, make sure that you are taxed enough. It's a census of all Britain, from your slaves and goats to your kittens. Tally your crops in the field, your livestock will be revealed. We'll take account over every amount. We'll discover and uncover. My king will pay his bills. What you got? Let's see the lot. King William sent us to have a good look. We're the men with the Domesday Book. King William sent us to have a good look. We're the men with the Domesday Book.
Hi, I'm Wayne Ronstad, and welcome to this week's edition of On the Road to Doomsday, where we travel the highways and byways of the kingdom, meeting people and gathering information for the Domesday Book. You may remember last week's show where we visited Baconthorpe in Norfolk, where Mrs. Agnes showed us her husband Thurston's beautiful property. Well, after we'd finished shooting, she had two questions for me. Wayne, she said, what do you do with all the information you've written about my land? And why is this book called the Domesday Book? Well, Agnes, we get these questions quite a lot. All the information in the book will eventually go to King William, who wants to know exactly how much land and livestock everyone owns, so he can take his share in taxes. Thanks to the information we gathered, Agnes, your husband's taxes will go up more than 500%. And that's where the title of the Domesday Book comes from. Because as we all know, taxes are as inevitable as the day of final judgment. And this week, we're continuing our travels through the Shire of Norfolk, and we're going to pay a visit to Reynold, son of Ivel. So, let's go, fellas.
He was a Viking. I believe his name was Norman. Just like my Uncle Norman, except he wasn't a Viking, he was a Virgo.
No. That other man wasn't named Norman. He was a Norman.
He told me he was part Viking. I couldn't tell which part, but I assumed it was something he'd rather not talk about.
I know the feeling. But Gracie, Norman is actually short for Northmen. That's what the French called the Vikings, because they came from the north.
I thought the Normans came from the south. Didn't they come from the south?
Yes. They came from the south when they crossed the English Channel into Britain from France. But they came to France from the north.
So the Northmen came from Normandy.
Which is North France.
And invaded southern England.
That's right.
By going north. George, don't be silly. How can someone start in North France, go north, and end up in South England? I thought Vikings were expert navigators.
Well, I'd like to see one of them navigate this conversation. Anyway, the Normans now run England.
So Norman is short for Northmen, and it means Vikings.
That's it.
Wait till I tell poor Uncle Northman he didn't know he was a Viking. Mind you, he will be happy that he's running Great Britain now.
Under the old Saxon system, the peasants were owned by Saxon thanes and earls. But after the Normans conquered the Saxons and began ruling England, that all changed. Instead of a lifetime of slavery under a Saxon thane, the English peasants could finally look forward to a lifetime of slavery under a Norman knight.
As we wander around your beautiful lands here, Reynold,
Yeah?
I can't help but be struck by the charming people that live hereabouts.
Oh, yeah, they're great people, Wayne. Yeah, thanks.
Now, I was wondering, the people we just met, I'm assuming those were slaves.
No, Wayne, I don't have any slaves, really.
Oh, really? No. Well, now that's funny because they told me that they were your slaves.
They did? Well, you know, they're probably just saying that because they don't want to get, you know, taxed themselves, you know?
You know, we'll have to look into that a little bit later.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Wait a second. What are you guys doing? What are you talking to him for?
Is all this right through here? Is all this your property?
Well, yes and no. Yeah, well, more no, I would
what
say.
What would that be?
That's nothing to do with me. The neighbor likes to park it there. No, there's no sense in writing it down because it's not mine.
Let's go over. Now, what do you keep in here, Reynold?
Well, Wayne, this is where I keep my swine. This is my swine pen, my sty. And, well, the swine aren't here right now. They're off grazing in the woods, you see, because they don't like people, and they're really sickly animals anyway. So
well, you know, swine, I used to keep swine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, how many would you say you have?
I'd say about 5.
5?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 5.
Maybe 8, huh?
Okay, maybe 8, yeah.
Well, you know, your slaves there said you had 15.
They did? Well, you know how slaves lie, Wayne, and
I know they do, sure. Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, they would lie if they were my slaves, which they're not.
Right.
And,
right. Well, in that case, they probably weren't lying, and they were pretty sure you had 15. Weren't they, boys? Hmm?
You know, Wayne, now that I think about it, it probably was 15. I'm not very good with numbers, so yeah.
You know, a lot of people have that problem.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just write down 15 swine here in my book, just so I don't forget.
All right.
15 swine.
That looks like 50.
Robert, which king of England was killed at the Battle of Hastings?
Harold II?
Correct. Amy, what huge tapestry commemorates the Battle of Hastings?
The Bayeux Tapestry.
Correct. Will, what sound does a mace make when it hits a warrior's skull?
Bank.
Close, it's bonk. Lumpy, what is the central core of the castle used for the last stands against invaders?
Big?
The keep.
And now a few minutes with Andy Rooney.
Maybe it's just me, but this new bilingualism in England is really starting to annoy me. In the old days, we raised cow, pigs, and sheep. And when we killed them and cooked them, we ate cow, pig, and sheep. But now these Normans insist on calling the meat by their French names. I can't even pronounce half these French animal names. I ordered some food at the inn the other day. The daily specials were a pork chop or a beef pie. Who can understand these foreign words? Why can't they just call the food what it is? A pig chop and a cow pie. I hate it when people try to force French down my throat. You know what's going to happen? Since we do all the farming, slaughtering, cooking, and serving, the animals' names will be English. But since the rich Normans eat the finished meals, all the names for the cuts of meat will be in French.
When we return, the Normans make sure England comes to its census.
Come to count all your stuff, make sure that you are taxed enough.
After William the Conqueror became King of England in 1066, he discovered he'd inherited a valuable new right, the right to levy a land tax on every one of his new citizens. So, in 1086, he commissioned the Domesday Book, a national survey of what everyone's land was worth. Naturally, some citizens went to great lengths to make their land appear less valuable. Well, hey, it doesn't do to show off.
No, because there's nothing in there. Look at it. If Wayne doesn't want it, Wayne doesn't want it. You're not going in there. There's no sense in it.
Everyone, come on in, guys. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here.
Okay. Give me that.
Here, look what I found. here. Another one. Yep. Give me those there. Get all that going outside. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, now by golly, what's that over there? Is that a mill?
Where?
Right through there.
That's a watermill, Wayne. That's a really old watermill, though.
Well, you know, it looks like it's working okay. Are there people over there?
Probably just some peasants playing around. You know how they like to do
Right.
that. Yeah.
Well, you know, the wonderful thing about coming to the country is that you'll find all sorts of things described that aren't in the official documents.
Is that right?
Well, even in the letter that you sent us describing your property, there was no mention of a mill at all.
There isn't?
No, none whatsoever.
Well, that's probably because it's really old, Wayne, and I didn't want to mention it because it's not worth anything. And
Sure. Tell you what, let's go have a look inside, shall we?
If you really think we
Come
should.
on. I think we should.
All right, but the floorboards are weak, so watch yourself.
Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. What a lovely old mill. It's in beautiful shape.
Yeah, I guess those peasants, they really love to restore things. You got to hand it to them.
Oh, and look, they're grinding corn there.
You sure that's what that is? You sure that's not just the wind?
You know what I love? I love to see a beautiful old building like this restored.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to just write that down in my book.
Oh yeah, the book, yeah. Go on,
Working mill.
Public health officials are delighted at the rising popularity of bathing. The traditional 5 or 6 baths a year of our forefathers is giving way to more frequent bathing. That in turn should lead to better health for all, as friends and neighbors gather together in hot public baths to wash off the week's accumulation of grime, rinse out their open sores, and cleanse any burning blisters in one large hot tub.
The Normans were very environmentally conscious of this new country they'd conquered. After all, invading, conquering, and then suppressing various rebellions had cost an arm and a leg and thousands of heads. So the Normans passed strict new laws to guard English forests, preserve the English countryside, and protect English animals from hunting by English natives. That way the animals could be hunted by their Norman masters.
Will, what unfree peasant owns land, but must also work on the Earl's land?
Sounds like Stan.
The answer is a villain. Lumpy. Who lives in a cottage and is the lowest of the unfree peasants?
Definitely Stan.
A cotter. Robert, what name is given to a man who unlawfully hunts or traps on a lord's land?
Stan. Well, that's why they hung him.
The answer was a poacher. And at the end of that round, of a possible 5 pounds, you netted a pathetic 0. Time to decide whose brains should be beaten into plowshares.
Stan.
Whose heart has no ox.
Definitely
is
Stan.
the weakest link.
Stan.
Yep.
In the Shire of Norfolk, doing a survey of the land of Reynolds, son of Ivan. It's been a real eye-opener, I can tell you. It taxes the imagination to see all the things that could be taxed.
I have to write that right down there. Would you mind holding that for a minute? I've got a... Right? Here, let me try that.
It won't work.
Let me get that up. There. Perfect. Go on. Show me the way.
After you.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, that is a charming woodland back there.
Yes.
How many swine would you say you could graze there? 18 to 20?
What? No, I'd say maybe like 4 at the most.
No. I think about 20.
No, it's not 20.
So I'm going to write
It's,
grazing for 20 swine.
You're not going to write that in the book,
Down
are
here
you?
in my book, yes I am. But you know what?
man.
If you don't like it, you can always appeal.
What's that? I can actually appeal it?
Oh, no, I was pulling your leg.
You're quite the joker there. Wayne.
No, hold on, wait. What's that I hear? Is that sheep?
Well, I don't hear anything.
I think it is.
I don't
Let's
think
go
so.
have a look.
Do you think we should?
I think we should.
It could be crickets, and you can't tax me on those.
Good evening, I'm Greta Von Sustern, and this is The Point. Tonight, big legal changes as the new Norman administration tries to modernize the British legal system. Goodbye, Weirgild. Hello, trial by ordeal. How will Britons who are used to paying for their crimes with cash adapt to a judiciary based on excruciating pain?
There hasn't been this much construction going on in Europe since the end of the Roman Empire.
Oh, for me? Thank you. You really
It's a
shouldn't
gift.
have. The flowers fell off.
Yeah, well, the sticks.
Anyway, you know, folks, with a lot of the skilled laborers over there working on churches and castles, you know, home building is really now a do-it-yourself project for sure.
So today we are going to learn how to fence our property. We're going to use pine, because why? That's what we have growing on the property.
That's right. Now, you know, for some reason, I like my rails on my fence to be, about a foot apart.
Now, are you talking about a Roman foot or a Drusus foot?
It's a Roman foot.
Okay.
Now, how big is the property?
It's a half a league by a league.
Oh, really? I thought it was a league by almost 2 leagues.
Okay, yeah, but now are you talking the big leagues or the little ones?
I don't know. My dad never let me play in Little League.
It's because you swung both ways, that's why.
Oh, boy. A little testy today.
Hey!
But anyway, okay, how much is that in miles?
Miles?
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about Roman miles or German miles?
Convert it to Roman, okay? Boy, why don't we just measure the area in acres then?
You know what? Let's use mappers. Mappers are way easier.
Mappers? I'd rather use Jugera or Bunawariums before I use Jugera.
Here we start with the Jugera again. All right, let's use Jugera, all right?
Good.
Take out your calculators. Now, you got 400 hogsheads of wood.
Okay, here we go again, folks.
What?
Is this Italian hogsheads or Aquitanian hogsheads?
Stop it!
All right, why don't we use real hogsheads?
Stop it! Stop!
Then we can have cheese
Stop!
afterwards. All right.
You know what? Let's just build a fence till we run out of trees.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful fish pond.
Oh, Wayne, it's only a pond. There used to be fish in it, but there's no fish anymore.
No fish anymore. What a shame. What pollution, I'm guessing. Is...
Yeah, that's it. Pollution, yeah.
You know, it's such a shame when you have a beautiful fish pond like this that's poisoned by chemicals. You know, you not only lose the fish and the income, but the pleasure you get from catching those fish.
You know, I was thinking the same thing. It's a real shame, yeah?
Oh my gosh, you got another! I got another! Oh gosh, you got one.
Reynold and I stopped for a spot of fishing. He didn't manage to catch anything, but I caught myself several beautiful trout.
Well, you look at that. 4 fish an hour.
Okay, stop bragging, would you, Wayne?
That is really, really something. You know,
Yeah.
so often we hear about dead fish ponds and fields that have gone barren out here in the country, and you know, nature really does have a way of recovering.
Yeah.
You know, you must be just delighted, my friend, to find out that the fish pond that you thought was dead is actually a fine fishery teeming with valuable fish.
Yeah, imagine that, Wayne.
Yeah. Would you like to hand me my book, please, Reynold?
Yeah, why not?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll
There's
hold
the
on to
fish.
these, yeah.
When we come back, blood, sweat, tears, and other liquid assets.
Down here in my book, yes I am, but you know what, if you don't like it...
Nobody likes to pay taxes, but the tax which William the Conqueror imposed upon England was considered very harsh, especially by the Anglo-Saxons who had to pay it. It's been calculated to have been at a rate of about 30%. That's not chicken feed, but it included chicken feed.
Now, Reynold, I'd like to ask you a question.
All right, go
I've
ahead.
been doing a few sums here, and I'm wondering if you have any idea what your land is worth.
Oh, Wayne, I'd say about 6, 7 pounds.
Right, well, that's exactly what you put in your submission to the king, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Well, I've got some great news for you.
Well, that's good.
Oh, yes, I've got some very good news.
Oh, that's great.
The land that you thought was worth 6 or 7 pounds actually has a taxable value of 59 pounds, 11 shillings and 10 pence.
Oh my God!
You're a wealthy man, Reynold!
Oh my
Congratulations!
God.
And then what happened, caller?
Well, the thief realized I was catching up to him, so he dropped my pig and really took off. And I figured he'd be heading for the woods, right? Because the woods are full of thieves and cutthroats and stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If you go out in the woods today, you're in for a big surprise.
Yeah, well, instead, he headed over to the church.
Okay, let me guess. He threw himself on church property?
Yeah, and he demanded sanitary. So does that mean he's going to come clean about his crimes?
No, he probably said sanctuary, not sanitary.
Oh, maybe. I was breathing so hard from running, I didn't hear so good.
Yeah, okay.
See, once the thief invoked the ritual of sanctuary, he couldn't be arrested.
So he gets off scot-free?
Yeah, basically. I mean, all he has to do is walk to the nearest dock or wharf, take a boat out to an isolated island, and live out the rest of his days there.
Oh, darn, I was hoping he'd get something cut off at least, you know.
Well, at least it makes life a bit safer for those of us who live near the woods.
Yeah, fortunately, I live in the islands.
My Uncle Harvey, he was a brave soldier, and the king gave him some land. He wanted a plot of land, so the king gave him 100.
Well, Gracie, that's what kings do.
But George, my Uncle Harvey only wanted 1 plot of land. What's he gonna do with the other 99?
No, Gracie, the plot of land is 100. The king's giving plots to all his top knights.
But he only has 20 top knights. What's he gonna do with the other 80?
No. He's giving the 20 knights each 100.
20 hundreds?
Yes.
Oh, but George, that's $2 grand.
Well, I'm glad to see you're pleased about it. Now, he could also give him a hide.
A cow hide or a horse hide?
No, Gracie, a hide. A hide is 120 acres.
I didn't know cows came that big.
Gracie, a hide will support 1 family.
Oh, well, I'm sure. Why, a cow that big would support half of Britain.
Well, even though it's raining, our spirits aren't dampened here. It's been a most rewarding visit. And next week we're going to visit Roger of Poitou, one of the king's knights who's fallen on hard times. According to his letter, his pigs have run away, his slaves have died, his mills have burned down, and his oxen have suffered spontaneous bovine combustion. We'll see if we can't explore his lands and find some valuable property to cheer him up to. Join us then. Goodbye.
Oh, he's Reynolds, son of Ivo, and he thought that he was poor.
The Domesday Book was the first large-scale census since Roman times, and the information was collected in person from all over a kingdom with bad roads and rebellious landowners who knew that a write-up would cost them big bucks. The book is like a snapshot of a kingdom that really didn't want its photo taken right now. The original Domesday Book still exists in Britain's Public Record Office in London, and it shows that in 1086, the United Kingdom had 3 million citizens, most of them farmers, many working for their lords for nothing, and about 10% of the population were slaves. Yeah, these are the handwritten pages of history, and they show History Bites.
Everything you had to do.
There's 24 plows in lordship, 9 wheels, 200 swine, 1,200 sheep out in his fields, must make Randall feel fine. He's living here in luxury, while his serfs all break their backs. And all that Randall has to do is pay his income tax. All that Randall has to do.
Boy, you kids get out of there! Huh?